Welcome to the Thrive Careers Podcast, the show that helps you move your career confusion to career success, hosted by the extraordinary Olajumoke Fatoki. Each episode is packed with expert insights, real-life stories, and practical strategies to help you land your dream job, level up, and build a career you love. No more guesswork, just clear, actionable steps to help you thrive. If you're ready, let's jump right into it. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Thrive Careers Podcast, the show that helps you land your dream job and build a thriving career. I'm your host, Olajumoke Fatoki, and I'm so excited you're tuning in today because we have a truly special episode lined up for you. Joining us today is someone who embodies what it means to build meaningful connections and use them to fuel a successful career. Michael Morgan is an accomplished professional with over 15 years of experience at world-class organizations like Amazon, Walmart, JP Morgan Chase, and Chevron. He's also an author and is a passionate advocate for helping others achieve their goals. His new book, The Power of Networking, offers a fresh perspective on how we can all redefine and leverage networking in a way that's not just effective, but also authentic and fulfilling. In this episode, we'll dive into Michael's incredible career journey, the lessons he's been able to learn along the way, the experience working at some of those competitive companies in the world, and practical, actionable strategies that you can use to start building a powerful network. So, whether you're just starting your career, making a pivot, or looking to level up, this episode is packed with insights that you would not want to miss. So, let's get right into it. Michael, thank you for coming on the show. Would like to begin, by you sharing some words of wisdom on, what really inspired you to write your book, The Power of Networking.
Yes, absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for having me a guest on your podcast. I love the Thrive podcast, so I'm happy to be here. And then to answer your question, so throughout my career and education journey, I've had a lot of people within my network that reached out to me for guidance, for tips, whether it's how was I able to transition industries, because I've moved from financial services to oil and gas to tech to retail to now cybersecurity, or how was I able to excel in my role? How was I able to advance? How was I able to transition from an individual contributor to a people manager role? What was my rationale with going back to school to get my MBA? So people in my network have been reaching out to me for tips, advice. People in my network have been connecting with people in their network for tips, advice. Random people on LinkedIn look at my profile and just reached out to me because they were impressed with my work experience and wanted to ask me questions. And after a certain point in time, I felt as though I had a breadth of knowledge that people were looking for. As you stated, I enjoy helping people, but I'm only one person. I can only take so many phone calls, so many Zoom calls, so many emails.
Right.
So I felt as though if I put pen to paper and I put, my advice and guidance in a book, I can get my knowledge out to masses. Same thing with I'm doing more speaking engagements now for companies, for universities, for organizations, for conferences. It's a way for me to share my ideas with hundreds of people at a time, as opposed to a one-on-one setting. So it was a way for me to share my knowledge to help other people. And like I said, it's just been over the course of my career and journey. So many people have reached out to me. I just figured at a certain point in time, I have information that people are looking for, which really inspired me to actually write the book.
Amazing. That's simply like having a piece of Michael in every home, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that makes a lot of sense. That's the best way to actually, bless the world with such a gift that you have. Thank you so much, Michael. So I'd like to take this even further. So And I want you to share personal stories, because that's one thing that we tend to connect with, with our audience, and it just helps to bring home some of these things. So was there a particular moment that you can think of in your career when networking played a transformative role for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say a huge moment for me was the transition from Chevron to Amazon. So when I was initially looking at opportunities at Amazon, I realized a lot of my classmates from my MBA school at Carnegie Mellon University, they were also at Amazon. So rather than me just blindly applying to Amazon, and this is advice that I would give to anyone, if you know someone internally at a company that you're interested in that is willing to refer you, 9 times out of 10, an internal referral will at least get you a phone screen with HR. If you just blindly apply on your own, you could be just another name in a hat with hundreds of candidates. Most of these companies use some type of AI to even screen resumes, and only a certain amount of resumes even get to HR. So if you have that internal referral, that opens up so many doors for you. So I mean, luckily for me, I've been maintaining my network with my classmates. Even though I went to work to Chevron for 4 or 5 years, when I reached out to my classmates, it wasn't as though I hadn't spoken to them in 5 years. I'd maintained that relationship over that time. I was able to get a referral, which helped me get my foot in the door at Amazon. And then every transition I did at Amazon was through my network. So I started off on the retail side, and that was through the initial referral through my classmate. I switched from retail to Amazon Web Services. A woman that I used to work with at Chevron, she also was working at Amazon Web Services. She made the transition to Amazon, and she reached out to me about an opportunity to transition to Amazon Web Services and take on a people manager role. And I jumped on that opportunity, and the role wasn't even posted yet. So I was able to talk to the manager, the hiring manager, the skip level manager, all the leaders within that organization about a role that hadn't been posted. By the time it was posted, it was already my role.
Imagine that.
Yeah. The same thing, I transitioned to Amazon Business. I had a mentor while I was at Amazon, and one of our regular touch bases, we were just having a discussion, and he was talking about opportunities within Amazon Business. He thought I was a great fit for a role at Amazon Business. I wasn't even looking for an opportunity at Amazon Business, but he connected me with his manager and other leaders within the organization. It sounded like a great opportunity. I made the transition over to Amazon Business. So, when I worked at Amazon, I worked in 3 completely different functions. I worked in retail, I worked in Amazon Business, I worked in Amazon Web Services. It wasn't as though I was going onto our internal portal and searching for roles and trying to figure out the next step for me and doing interviews. A lot of it was my network opening up doors for me to move around the company. So my network got my foot in the door at Amazon. My network helped me move around and navigate at Amazon. My network helped me complete the job at Amazon. There's a lot of times, and people will see this throughout their career, you'll get asked to do something and you have no clue how to do it. And you could either figure it out on your own, or if you have the right network, you can reach out to people who can either show you how to do it or at least point you in the right direction. So I think a lot of people have this mindset that networking helps you get the job and helps you, move up and get promoted. Networking helps you get the job done. You still have to perform your job at a high level. And if you don't know the right people that can assist you and give you guidance when you're executing your role, it's going to hurt you to move forward. So I would say my experience at Amazon really showed me how the power of networking really comes to fruition.
Amazing. And just before I move on, I think I need to get into your network. So if there's an application process, I'm willing to go through that process. All right. So 2 things, stood out for me, right, from your response. The first one is the fact that you intentionally build, your network. You mentioned that, you still kept in touch with people from your school, and all of that. And I think that's one key thing that I really, want us to deep dive further into. How do people maintain these relationships? I'll give you an example. So recently, when I was in college, people that we were, my college colleagues put together a group and they started reaching out to people, for all of us to join and start something. But that group has not been successful because it seems like people have moved on and we're really unable to connect. I don't know if in your case you guys went down the route of creating a group to sort of maintain the relationship. But what are those things that you did to maintain that relationship such that you're able to leverage that relationship?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll give a couple tips and guidance on how I've personally been able to maintain relationships. So for one, I keep a spreadsheet, which I know sounds a little weird. But for every company that I've worked at, the people that I've identified as critical, like director, VP level, people that I like mentors, people that I want to keep in my network, I've put them in a spreadsheet, maybe 4 or 5 people per company I've worked at. And I'll put their name, I'll put their email, I'll put specific information about that individual. Where are they from? What school did they go to? Are they married? Who's their partner? What are the names of their kids? What are their hobbies? So this way, I'm keeping track of how often I've reached out to that person through the spreadsheet. And when I realize I haven't spoken to that person in 6 months, I haven't spoken to that person in a year, that'll prompt me to either send them an email or give them a phone call. And when I send them an email, I can make it a tailored email and say, hey, Bob, how have you been? I know you love traveling. When was the last trip that you took? I know that you're a big runner. What was the last race that you ran? How are the kids? How's Bobby? How's Cindy? And I can make it very tailored and specific because I know that individual. And having that spreadsheet, that really helps me keep track and make sure that I'm maintaining relationships where I'm not letting 4 or 5 years pass before I reach out to this person again. So and everyone I treat differently. Some people I may speak to weekly, some monthly, some quarterly, some annually. It really depends on the relationship with the person, but I'm making sure that years don't pass and I don't connect with them. Another tip that I do personally, I try to find opportunities where I have just extra time available. And that's an opportunity for me to start reaching out to people. So as an example, I'll give you 2 examples. I live in Austin, Texas right now, but before Austin, I lived in the Bay Area. My commute to work, it was an hour and a half to go from Oakland to San Bruno, and then an hour and a half to go back. And I'm on the BART train. It's very congested. It's not easy for me to pull up a laptop and do work, but I saw it as an opportunity to network. So that was my time where I would open my phone, I would scroll through, I'm looking at my directory and saying, oh, I haven't spoken to this person in a while. Let me give them a phone call. I haven't spoken to this person in a while. Let me send them a text message. Like that's a good way for me to, and I have nothing else but time. I'm commuting to work. So let me make the most use of that time. Same thing. I love to travel, whether it's travel for work, travel for personal. And when I go to the airport, I don't like to be stressed. I don't like the anxiety of showing up to the airport 30 minutes before my flight boards. So I'll get there an hour, 2 hours early, and now I'm just sitting in the airport and I have free time. That's an opportunity for me to network. That's when I'm pulling up my phone and I'm giving people phone calls. I'm sending text messages. So I'm finding these different opportunities to connect with people. I love to leverage LinkedIn as well. And when I say LinkedIn, if someone in my network posts that they just got a new certification, they just started a new job, I don't just click the like button. I'll send them a message on LinkedIn and I'll say, hey, congratulations. I just saw that you got a new job. I'm so happy for you. We haven't spoken in a while. Do you have any free time in the next few weeks? I'd love to connect either over a phone call or video chat. And I look at that as an opportunity for us to have that face-to-face interaction as opposed to just me liking a picture or liking a post. So finding those opportunities, I think that's very critical, and that's a great way to maintain connection. And I'd also say leverage technology as much as possible. Like I said, we have Slack, we have LinkedIn, we have Google Meet, we have Zoom, we have our phones, we can call people, we can text people. in my opinion, nothing replaces that face-to-face interaction. So whenever possible, people that live in the same city as me in Austin, I'll try to reach out and see if they want to grab lunch, grab coffee, grab dinner. If I'm traveling somewhere for work or for fun, I'm reaching out to people I know that live in that city, and I'm trying to coordinate and say, hey, I'm in the city for the weekend. I'm in the city for the week. I'd love to catch up. Not, in my opinion, nothing replaces that face-to-face interaction. So as much as possible, like I said, leverage technology and reach out to people through your phone, through social media. But also try to have that face-to-face interaction where you're meeting with people and talking with them. Doesn't have to be over drinks. Like I said, you can meet people for coffee. You can meet people for water. I don't even drink coffee. I have coffee chats with people all the time. Like, so I definitely recommend that face-to-face interaction when possible.
That is super powerful. And, I loved where you rested it. Technology is amazing. It provides us all of those opportunities to connect with people, but nothing replaces, the face-to-face interaction. Like, it's still as potent, it's still as powerful, even in 2025. So yeah, thank you so much. And I love those tips that you also shared. Very useful, very practical, very easy to implement, taking advantage of opportunities that you could have otherwise maybe watching movies. And I'm not saying it's not good to watch movies, but depending on, what phase that you're in your career, if you're at a phase where, you need to build quality relationships that can translate for you, you want to take advantage of those seemingly extra time that you have and use it to really connect with people. Just like Michael just explained, I had never seen it, from that angle, like being intentional. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. That's a level of intentionality, taking advantage of the extra time that you have and to connect with people, to build great relationships, to be in their faces, so that when you need to leverage those relationships, the conversations are not awkward, because it's been ongoing, so you can easily move things forward from there. I think that was a really powerful one. Thank you for sharing with us, Michael. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. So before we move forward, I want to adjust a few things, then I'll come back with the next question. Thank you. So we have a career-related fun question that we ask at the beginning to help us ease into the conversation. Even though we already eased into this one, we are flowing already, but I'll still like to have it, just to have your own perspective on that. So the question is, if your career journey were to be a movie, what would the title be? And why?
The title would probably be On the Road Again. The reason why I'm pretty flexible and I'm willing to travel for work. I'm willing to move for different job opportunities. I'm originally from New York. I went to school in Pennsylvania for both undergrad and MBA. I worked for JP Morgan in Delaware. I worked for Chevron in Texas. I worked for Amazon in Washington. I worked for Walmart in California. And now my job is fully remote, and I've moved to Austin, Texas. Honestly, I'm at the point where when I tell family and friends, like, oh, I'm moving over here, and they're like, okay. It's like what's new? Like they're not even surprised at this point. And chances are Austin is probably not the last place that I will live. So the fact that I'm willing to go outside of my comfort zone, live anywhere, whether it's in the US, I'm up for living overseas. If I could find the right expat opportunity, I would definitely take it. So I know a lot of people aren't willing to make that jump, and they've kind of lived in the same city, state that they were born and stayed there. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I've been willing to take different job opportunities, move places I've never lived, never visited. Literally my first time interviewing with Chevron in Houston, it was my first time in Houston. Then I moved to Houston. My first time visiting Seattle was when I interviewed with Amazon, and then I moved to Seattle. So I'm pretty flexible, and I'm excited to figure out where I'll land next, honestly.
It's safe to say you're an adventurous person.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a really, good thing, especially in the world that we live in today. You have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible, you have to be nimble, and I think that's a great thing you have working for you. And I hope that you'll get to visit Africa someday.
Oh, that's the hope. I'm hoping to go there later this year. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, I'm getting married in 3 weeks and
Whoa.
planning the honeymoon. And the hope is for the honeymoon, we'll travel across Africa, Europe, and Asia. So we'll see.
Amazing, and congratulations. That's such a good news.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm glad to hear that. I love. All right. So thank you for sharing your career journey, and the movie title with us, On the Move. I love it. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about redefining networking. Networking is often seen as daunting and overly transactional. How do you refine networking in your book to make it more authentic and impactful?
Yeah, so I'll say 2 things to that. The first one, I don't like this like transactional notion that a lot of people have. When I'm building relationship with people, I'm getting to know them as individuals. Like yes, the conversation comes up about work, for like obviously that does pop up, but work is what we do, it's not who we are. So when I'm networking with people, I'm getting to know them as individuals. Like I told you before, I'm getting to understand where are they from, like what are their hobbies, what are their interests, what are their passions, like what are like, let me learn more about your family. Do you have a significant other? Do you have a partner? Do you have kids? So I'm building genuine friendships with people. Like these are people that have invited me to their weddings. I plan to invite them to my wedding. Like these are great relationships. These are not just people I reach out to when I want something. So I think people have to take that mindset, like you're building genuine friendships and relationships as opposed to transactions. I think that goes a long way. And then the second piece that I emphasize to people all the time, a lot of people, when it comes to networking, they're just asking for things all the time. So they'll go to a conference or like a networking event. They'll get someone's information. It's like, oh, can you give me this? Can you refer me for a job? Can you review my resume? Can you do? And it's like, I just met you and you're already asking for stuff. Like asking. When I meet someone new and I add them to my network, I'm trying to understand what I could do for them. Networking is a two-way street. It's give and take, and I'm emphasizing the give. And it could be something small. I could recommend a book. I could recommend a training course. I can provide them with a referral. I can help them with interview prep. I'll try to understand what they're looking for. And sometimes people just want to meet new people. Like, hey, I live in a new city. Sometimes I go to a network event just because I'm trying to build a new network of people because I live in a new city. And some people in my network, I never ask of anything, but if at some point in time I may need something, I don't feel as bad asking because it's the process of reciprocity where I know I've already done something for someone else. So I think if people have that mindset where, trying to build genuine relationships, friendships, not trying to make it as transactional, and make sure that if you do ask for something, that it's a give and take relationship and that you've provided something back. Like a small example, I've helped a lot of people with interview prep at different companies, Amazon, Walmart, Chevron. And then people have been able to get jobs because of my assistance. They'll take me out for lunch. They'll ask me for my address. They'll mail me a gift. They'll like, here's a gift card. Thank you for the time. Thank you for this. Just finding it like a small way to give a gesture back to somebody, so it doesn't just feel like you're only reaching out to me to use me for something or get something out of it, and it goes both ways.
That was really critical. Like, I love, I love the way you were able to, shed light on that, because I feel like that's one of the greatest challenge with networking, when people feel like they are being used. So this is a great way to look at it. And you also said something that which was really profound. You said networking is a two-way street, and you even emphasizing the giving aspect of it. So don't be at the receiving end. What are you also bringing to the table? I think that's really clear, and our listeners, I believe, can benefit a lot from that. And even myself, thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right, so moving on, I know we already spoke about this earlier, but just to, contextualize it a bit more and to also deep dive into it. So that's going to be my next question, that in your own opinion, what are 3 actionable steps that professionals can start taking today to build and maintain meaningful networks? 3.
Yeah. I'd say first and foremost, you have to put yourself out there. I understand. I know some people are more extrinsic, some people are more intrinsic, but if you're not willing to put yourself in situations where you can meet new people and build your network, it's going to be difficult to make new connections. So whether that's within your company, most companies have employee resource groups. So it'll be a Black employee network, a women's network, a Asian network. You can join these different employee resource groups as a way to meet different people within the company. Or if you're in a work meeting and you recognize somebody that you haven't seen before, you haven't really had a chance to speak with, feel free to reach out to them after the meeting. Like, hey, I haven't seen you a lot of meetings before. Would love to speak with you further, get an understanding of what your role is, how we can help one another. Like looking for mentors internally at work. Some companies have formal mentor programs you can sign up for. Sometimes you have to organically find mentors. But I would say first and foremost, you have to put yourself out there. Externally, outside of work, you can join organizations. As an example, in Austin, I'm a part of the National Black MBA Association in Austin. I'm a part of an organization called Cyversity, which tries to get more diversity in cybersecurity now that I work in the cybersecurity industry. So I've joined external organizations outside of my job. I'm in internal organizations in my job. I go to conferences. So I'm always finding opportunities to meet new people and add them to my network. So I'd say number 1, put yourself out there. I would say number 2, the thing that I discussed earlier, make sure you're maintaining those connections. It's very easy to build and make a new connection. It's difficult to maintain it. So make sure that you have that mindset. Like, once I make a new connection, based off the relationship with the person, how often should I reach out to them? What should be the cadence? Is it going to be quarterly? Is it going to be every 6 months? Is it going to be annually? Am I going to try to give them a phone call? Am I going to shoot them an email? Am I going to try to meet them in person if they live in the same city as me? But make sure that you have a plan so that you're maintaining that relationship, so that it doesn't just fall off. The last thing you want is to make a new connection. You don't talk to them for 5 years. All of a sudden you need something, and now you're reaching out to someone that you haven't spoke to in 5 years. That's, to your point, it's going to burn a bridge. That's not good networking. So number 1, put yourself out there to meet people. Number 2, be intentional to maintain those connections. And number 3, like I said, find ways to identify how you can add value to other people. Like I said, it could be you helping them with resume reviews, you sending them news articles, you recommending books, you providing them with job referrals. It could just be you just taking them out to lunch. You'd be surprised how many people are excited when I invite them to lunch. I think we have this mentality where we just work through lunch now, where people bring in lunch from home, or people will leave their desk, grab lunch in the cafeteria or from a nearby restaurant food truck, bring it right back to their desk and just keep working. Yeah. When I put a lunch on someone's calendar, they're like, oh my God, like I'm taking an hour lunch. I'm leaving the office and I'm going to have a conversation and build a relationship. Like those are like little things that you can do that are really intentional. So like I said, it doesn't have to be big gestures. Like you have to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars to find ways to give back. It's just a matter of giving your time. So I would say those are the top three things. One, put yourself out there. Two, be intentional so that you can maintain the connection. And three, just identify ways that you can give, because networking is a two-way street. And I always like to emphasize the give part. And those 3 ways can really help. Those are action steps that people can take today to really start building and maintaining their network.
Beautiful. And there you have it, listeners. 3 actionable steps. Like if you put those 3 steps to use to work, I am sure that you would get results. Just like Michael has, and just like I have also experienced in my career, networking is an action word. It comes with a lot of doing, but people tend to misunderstand it, to think that it's a way of getting. It's actually more, about giving. And, thank you for sharing that with us, Michael. All right, so we'll move to the next question. All right, so this would be focused on the lessons that you've learned, from the top organizations. I couldn't but smile, while looking at your profile, like, wow, what a journey. You've worked at Amazon, Walmart, JP Morgan Chase, Chevron, and you've shared with us, on this conversation today, how you've been able to navigate, all of those. But specifically, how did networking shape those journeys for you and, aid those transitions across those competitive environments?
Yeah, absolutely. So, networking has been critical at every company that I've worked at. It's to the point where I don't just blindly apply to companies anymore. Like I said, I'm strategically trying to identify someone who works at the companies that I work for and see if I can have them assist me and provide referrals, help me get my foot in the door, because it's not always what you know, it's who you know, and knowing people internally make a huge difference. So at every company that I've worked at, it's been my relationships, my connections that help me get my foot in the door. It's been my network to help me execute my job at a high level. It's been my network to help me get to the next level. If a lot of people have this misconception where they think if they just put their heads down and work hard, they'll naturally get promoted over time. If the senior leadership doesn't know who you are and the value that you bring to the table, you will get overlooked. You need to network vertically, not just with your manager, with all the leaders within your company. You could be in an organization of 400 people. There might be 10 leaders in a room deciding where to rank those 400 people and who's getting promoted and who's not getting promoted. And sometimes your manager is not in the room. So you can't just depend on your manager helping you get to that next level in your career. Networking has been huge for me. And then, like I said, on top of the fact that I've tried to navigate careers at different companies, different industries, I've moved to completely new cities, states where I didn't know anybody. So I had to start from scratch. I had to build my networking at my company. I had to build my network in that new city. If I wasn't able to do so, I don't think I would have been able to thrive in all these different moves. I have people in my network that have tried to move to new city, new state, new country. They may have lasted a couple months and moved right back home, and they said it was tough for them. But my ability to network has allowed me to thrive in different cities, different states. And I know I'm at the point in my career where I can thrive anywhere. Literally throw me anywhere on the planet and I'm going to fit in. So yeah, networking has been really huge for me.
Amazing. Just a follow-up question on that. Is there any chance that mentoring plays a role in this? Is there any relationship?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Mentoring is huge. So I'm at a point in my career where I have enough work experience where I also mentor people. But regardless of where I am in my career, I'm always looking for mentors. So there's always someone who's worked at the company longer than me and understands how to navigate the particular company. There's always somebody who's been in that industry longer than me. Like I said, I work in cybersecurity now. I've been in cybersecurity for 2 years. I'm not an expert in cybersecurity, but I joined that organization, Cybersity, that I told you about, and they connected me with a mentor who's been in cybersecurity for 20 years, and now I'm able to pick their brain. I have mentors at my company now that have been at the company longer than me. My company's been around for 14 years. I've been at the company for 2 years. So I'm reaching out to people who've been at the company longer and may understand some things that I don't. There's always going to be someone who's more knowledgeable, whether it's in the company, in the industry, in your function. So, there's no need for you to have the same pitfalls, make the same mistakes that someone else may have already had, and they can help you avoid it. So don't be afraid to ask for mentors. Like I said, a lot of companies have formal mentorship programs where you can just fill out a profile, list what your strengths are, list what your areas of opportunity are, list what you're looking for, and they'll naturally pair you with someone. But even if there's not a formal program, I try to find different opportunities, whether it's through an organization I'm a part of or just reaching out to someone within my company, someone that I look at as, hey, I want to be in their position in the next 5 years, 10 years. Let me see if they have, interest and capacity in being my mentor. The worst thing you say is no. But from my experience, most people are flattered. As long as they have the time, they're willing to invest in you. And then them investing in someone, developing someone at the company, it only benefits them. Like, they want the company to thrive. The better the company does, the better it is for them in their pockets. So most of the time people are willing to mentor. The only pushback I had a few times is people just don't have the time and capacity. But you won't know unless you ask. But mentorship is critical. So whenever possible, I strongly recommend people try to identify mentors that can help them in their journeys.
Amazing. And, as you were speaking, I saw a relationship between networking and, mentoring. It's almost the same principle. Like the way we talked about the fact that when you're trying to connect with people, you have to, be consistent. You have to not make it one way. It has to be, a two-way street and all that. I feel like the same, principle applies to mentoring. If you're reaching out to people to say, hey, can you mentor me on this? Then you must also, bring something to the table, either your own presence, your willingness to learn. Because really, I found out that you can really take from people, the amount that you're willing to get from them to the much that you're willing to learn. That's how much you can draw from people. If you come really empty and ready to learn, you're going to learn a lot. But if you come already full, there's probably nothing you can learn from them. So it's really dependent on you as an individual, than the person you're reaching out to. So that's just the bit that I felt to add to the mentoring conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I also love to check in with my guests. So how do you find this conversation so far? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, this conversation has been fantastic. I feel like it's flowing very well.
Awesome. All right. Good to know that. All right. So let's talk a little about inspiration. I mean, your profile it's inspirational. Speaking with you as well, you being able to deep dive into, some of those concepts. Very enlightening, very insightful so far for me. Thank you. So let's talk about your book. What do you hope readers will take away from the power of networking? And how do you think they can use networking not only to advance their careers, but to also make a positive impact on others?
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing I want people to take away is that life is a journey and everyone's journey is different. My path was different than your path. It's different than the next person's path. I think a lot of times that people look at the end goal, I want to get to people manager role. I want to get to director. I want to get to VP. And it's good to set goals. And I talk about goal setting and achieving your goals and how to get there in my book as well. But it's a journey. It's a process. It takes time. You're not going to become a people manager overnight. You're not going to become a director overnight. You have to put that work in. Like first and foremost, like networking is critical. Like it's critical. First and foremost, you have to do your job. So a lot of times people are already looking onto the next thing, the next title, the next move. Like you have to execute your role and be a top performer. And that way that can set the path for you to access those opportunities where you can get promoted, or where you can take on people manager roles, where you can do these different things. So, you know, I hope that people understand that it's a journey. It takes time. You have to put the work in. One of the things I talk about all the time, like be a master in your craft. There's a book called Mastery, and there's two books. There's one called Mastery and one's called Outliers. But both of them talk about, in order to be a master in your craft, it takes 10,000 hours of work. 10,000 hours of work. Like people assume that if you make it to the professionals, if you're like an NBA player or NFL player, or you get to director, you get to VP, that these things just happen. Like, no, people put the work in. They put the work into their craft. They put the work into networking, and that's helped them get there. So if you have, you know, goals, aspirations, you can easily get there. Make sure that you're writing down your goals. Make sure you have accountability partners that can hold you accountable to the goals that you're setting. Make sure you're leveraging your network to assist you, guide you, support you. Put that work in, and as long as you're willing to roll up your sleeves and put in the work, you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing I'd want people to take away from my book.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You got to put in the work. You know, there is the work aspect of it. People love the ambience, the everything else that comes with it, but there is the putting in the work, you know, and thank you for emphasizing that. All right, so that brings us to the end of the core conversation today. But before you go, we have 2 rapid fire questions that we'd like to hear from you. Are you ready?
Yeah, well, I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Yeah, so these are just quick, engaging questions to end, you know, our session on a high note. So, networking tip. What's one networking rule that you live by, that Michael lives by?
I would say that the two-way street. You gotta give to get. So it has to be balanced. Make sure that you're providing something in addition to the relationship.
Awesome. If you could network with anyone, past or present, who would it be and why?
Number one popping out to me right now is Barack Obama. I mean, to get to the point where you're president of the country, I mean, that's the highest profile role that you can be. And then to be black and be the face of the country, it's impressive. The first person to do it. So would love to network with him and just ask questions and try to learn from his knowledge and tutelage. So yeah, definitely Obama.
Amazing. I'm tempted to ask you the last one. What is the best career advice you've ever received?
Best career advice: you own your career. I think a lot of people like to put their career in their manager's hands, and if things aren't working out the way that they had hoped, they're kind of putting the blame on their manager. And your manager's your biggest advocate. They're supposed to be guiding you. Like, your manager plays a big role, but at the end of the day, it's your career. So if you're not getting the opportunities that you're seeking, if you don't feel like you're getting the right support, maybe it's time for you to look at other roles internally at that company, or maybe it's time for you to look externally. I know a lot of people get comfortable in their roles and they don't like change, but if you're not seeing the career progression that you're looking for, you have to take your career in your own hands and find those opportunities. So I'd say that's critical. You own your career. Don't depend on other people to manage your career for you.
Wow. What an insightful conversation, and what a way to end, to bring this session to an end. A huge thank you to Michael Morgan for sharing your wealth of wisdom and practical strategies on networking. I love how you particularly emphasize the importance of building relationships over transactions and, the emphasis on staying authentic also, in our approach. Thank you so much. I know that our audience, our listeners would love to connect with you. So how can they find you? How can they get copies of your book? Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yes. So you can reach out to me in multiple different ways. So I have my own website. It's michaelvmorgan.com. That's V as in Victor, Michael V. Morgan. So feel free to go on my website. I have links on there to get the book. I also have a contact form where you can send me a message and it'll go directly to my email. I'm on LinkedIn. So Michael V. Morgan on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, michael.v.morgan on Instagram. So feel free to reach out to me through any of those channels. Like I said, I'm here to help. So if you shoot me a message, shoot me an email, I'm going to respond and help you out however I can. And then for my book, it's available on all platforms. If you're looking for the paperback's available on Amazon. If you're looking for the audiobook, it's on Spotify, it's on Audible. If you're looking for the ebook, it's on Barnes and Nobles, it's on Kindle. So whatever format you like, I have it.
Amazing. See, I was right. I was right when I said, we have a piece of Michael in every home.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fun. That's huge. Thank you so much for that, quality investment in helping people get better. All right. So thank you so much. We've come to the end of today's episode. And just before you go, I almost forgot that. What are your last words for our listeners, Michael?
My last words, like I said, I'm here to help. I want to see everyone be successful. There's enough opportunities for everybody. We can all thrive. So, whatever I can do to help people in their career journeys, feel free to reach out to me. I want to see everyone be successful. I'm trying to pay it forward. I wouldn't be where I am in my career if people didn't assist me and guide me when I had questions. So anything I could do to assist people, feel free to reach out.
Amazing. And there you have it, listeners. We can all thrive, which is one thing we stand for on this podcast. Thank you for bringing that home, Michael. So guys, if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the Thrive Careers podcast and be sure to leave us a review. It helps to bring more valuable content to listeners like you. And don't forget to share this episode with friends or colleagues who could benefit from these insights. And until I come your way again next time, stay thriving. All right. And that's it for today's episode of Thrive Careers Podcast. I'm Olajumoke Fatoki, reminding you that no matter where you are in your career, you have the power to rewrite your story. If you've enjoyed today's insights, do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who's ready to thrive. If you have questions or topics you would like for me to cover, let's connect. I'd love to hear from you. Remember, clarity creates confidence, and confidence leads to success. Until next time, stay inspired and keep thriving.